Alright. May as well get back into it. I've had a weekend where I actually didn't spend any time programming, really. It was a nice change of pace. But now I'm trying to boot up my development setup here to keep working on some SVG wrapping to make documents and reagent apps. So what I'm in the middle of right now is seeing if I can get things actually working. So I've got some failure going on this side of things here, and I'm not yet sure why, but we'll be fine with that for now. I've got here an issue with my code on a scale element thing, which is actually over here. Oh, this is something wrong. Here, actually. Looks like I have an extra. Why is that failing? Well, we're clearly off to a great start where I'm a little lost in my code, but that's fine. This is the way things go. All right, so we've got a let there, fine. This is fine. That looks fine. Assoc new props looks good. Okay, everything looks all right, I think. So let's go ahead and save this. And what I'm actually going to do is go here and actually just kill this process. Relaunch my CLJ dev alias here and see if things will compile successfully this time. Still some error here. Okay, we're in a workable state now. It's not perfect. There's still obviously something going wrong here. Oh, this is just, this should be, this is a little helper thing I've got, but it's only really relevant in the Clojure side REPL. So to get rid of that kind of error, I should do something like, where did I define that? That's the only problem. I don't remember where that is. Miscellaneous. It's probably here. Yeah. So this should be in a little reader conditional. How do those work? I always forget. I always forget that. Let's have a look. All right, the reader conditionals. You could just read this. This is it. It's, yeah, I almost had it right, but I was wrong. Right, so reader conditional CLJ is that whole thing. And that's it. It's not, it's kind of a little messy syntax wise sometimes, but yeah, it's fine. I'm only using this as a sort of testing thing anyway. It's not relevant to any running code, so I almost don't need it. I just had it there for fun, I guess, more than anything. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. CLJ, yeah. Yeah, this page, actually, I've never really read it thoroughly, but it's pointing out all the times where it is annoying when you've got differences between Clojure and ClojureScript. So it's kind of cool that it shows it off like that. Pardon me. I guess I'm a little more tired than I thought. Mondays are usually like that a little bit, but hey, that's fine. I slept well enough. I went on a run again, maybe that's part of it. I took a week off of going on morning runs, so I'm not quite used to that yet, maybe. Okay, let's just see what this says just for fun here. Namespaces are the other big pain point. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's good. Splicing. Okay, so the splicing reader conditional. Vectors are being wrapped by a surrounding vector. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. There's not a clear community consensus where to put CLJC files. Yeah, that's true. This is definitely whatever, not perfect, but that's fine. Before reader conditionals, CLJX. I've never heard of this. Oh, that's here. This is why it's deprecated. Okay, that's fine. Alright, well, that's good enough for right now. It solves this particular issue, so this function should no longer be defined in this scenario. And just for being thorough here, let's boot it up again. Just to see what kind of errors it spits out. Dynamically adding target, opening URL. Let's see. So no actual errors this time, just warnings about target on class path, which I think I'm not going to worry about because I don't know that I actually want target to be on the class path, so just ignore it at least for now until something goes really wrong, but I think it's totally going to be fine. And then the only other thing, oh, this is just an issue or a note about logging initialized for the Jetty server, I guess, which is fine, that's no problem. And then all the rest of this is Figwheel related stuff. And so hi, the alert's working, we're good. So we've got the REPL here in the terminal connected to the browser here, which reads from this source file here, which currently has some, oh, it doesn't exist because I commented this out. So if I save that, right, it should re-render the page, which currently has an error, which is fine because I don't know why it's got an error, but I'll sort through that as a first thing to do. Let's go and do this. Let's just delete everything except the most basic things here. We'll just go to here, close the G tag, close the SVG, close the root tag, close the function, save that, and refresh the page. There we go. Okay, so now we've got a working setup. We can keep moving along with things here. So I thought I might have time to do this on the weekend, but it just turns out I didn't want to, so I didn't. So instead, I'm working on the implementation of doing 2D rotations for the existing SVG elements. So in order for me to just pop that into the REPL quickly, let me load file, source stylo svg.cljc, I think is the file path, and then switch to that namespace. And then here, let's see if I can call a circle function. Yeah, we're good. So we're in the right namespace with the right files loaded, with the right symbols loaded, I should say, which is great. Right. So where am I at here? We've got a def multi here, and we just have to implement rotate element functions for all of the shapes, which is just this list of things. So the funny thing about this is I am wanting to implement things rotating about their center points in their bounding box. So for a circle element, the actual rotate function does nothing, because there's no well, theoretically does nothing, because a perfect circle, if you rotate it about its center point, will look identical no matter what you do. But what I'm actually going to do is perform just like what I'm going to do with ellipse, is force a rotation to be plunked into it through the transform map. And the reason for that is because circles and ellipses, if you scale them non-uniformly, circles can turn into ellipses. And so like this, if I do SVG circle 20, but I do SVG/scale that by 2, 1, it's going to stretch the circle and turn it into an ellipse, which is right up there. So actually, let me wrap this whole thing for a moment in translate 200, 200, like that. And that gets, yeah, that's good. So that should shift those things over. Right, so this circle here is here, but it is actually an ellipse. If I scale it 2 by 2, it stays a circle. Right here. Right, so point is, if I happen to, if I have a circle that's rotated, or I put a rotate on it, and then at some other time it's turned into an ellipse by some scaling thing, if there's no rotation encoded into it, it won't match expectations. Even if that ends up not being totally the case, it's a good idea to, well, I think it's a good idea to encode the intent that the user had on there somehow into the shape of the SVG itself, even though it's a little strange and a little messy. But I suppose it's better than nothing, so that's what I will do. So technically, what I can actually do for a rotate element circle, since I already have this rotate element by transform function here, I can actually just call that function to produce the translated circle in the way I want. So let's try that and see if it actually will work. So all it's going to be is this. It's going to be a call to rotate element by transform, and the element that's going to be rotated is going to be by degrees and k props like that. So let's see if that will work. Right, so actually I can do that if I do, there we go, we got rotate element here. Let's imagine it's rotated 45 degrees and it's a circle of size 5. So we correctly have circle 5 with a transform in there, rotate 45, and this nil here is from the fact that it shouldn't matter, but that comes from the shape of this here. Rotate element by transform has to potentially allow, pardon me, content to exist, because if I do this, rotate element by transform 45 for a text element, right, I need this here. The text tags in SVG work like paragraph tags a bit. You need the actual content of the tag as part of the thing there. So you get text, you get all this normal nonsense here, and it input the transform rotate there just fine, and the content is this ASDF here. If I do the same sort of thing with, oh right, it won't work because, well, never mind. You see the point maybe. If I do it with a circle, circle has no content in it, right? It's just a circle tag like this, and then a closing tag like that. So there's a nil value there. So I could maybe change it by doing this. Now let me just see if this will work. Let's try it. Right, so it doesn't make, now it's an empty string. It should probably just stay as nil, because that's a little more obvious. There we go. Okay. All right, we're in good shape. That is looking pretty good. Let me see here for a moment what's going on. Oh man, my head is not in the game today. That's all right. Start of the week, Mondays, it happens. It happens. I'm feeling a little down today. I'm realizing. I'm noticing that as I sit and think about what kind of code I need to write today. I'm just not feeling it, you know? You know how that goes sometimes? It's one of those days for me. But the nice thing about a day like that is if you take things just one little bit at a time, you can still manage to get quite a bit of good work done. If the goal of your day is getting work done, that's pretty nice. Yeah, I'm just feeling a little off today. Hope that's okay. Oops. Right, so go ahead and get rid of this scale thing here. Let's make this circle 1 pixel. Excuse me, I'm feeling a little burpy today, I guess. So I'm just using that circle to mark the center of the canvas that I'm working. I shouldn't say canvas. It's not a canvas element, it's an SVG element, but it's the drawing board. Anyway, this circle here marks the exact center of it, the exact pixel center. And I just translated this closed path back center-wise. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense? Okay, so I actually think it's a good idea for me to do the exact same implementation for rotate ellipse. And that should lead to no problems whatsoever. Everything should be fine. Let's see. Well, now let's, no, I don't need to do that right now. The next thing to work on is, so I did circle ellipse line is the next thing to rotate about. Now this one could be interesting. Let's actually look at scale for line here. Scale element line. Let's use this as a basis. Okay. Right, let's go. Zap that over here. So let's just turn this to rotate element line. Degree. Okay, let's start with that. It is true that we still need the CX/CY of it, which we call bounding box center on the props x1, y1, x2, y2, which are just, it's 2 points, right? And then we produce a new props value by currently here, right, with scale, we did this whole thing. Find the bounding box center, translate BB center to 0, 0, right? Scale all values by that, and then translate it back to that. So instead of doing all of that, what we need to do is use the function rotate point, I think is what I called it, which takes a degree, and it takes a point. So 0, 1 at 45 degrees gives us this value here, which makes sense, right? If you've got 0, 1 is this is 2D rotation only, so we only are concerned with the X and Y planes. If you take a line from the origin pointed straight vertical, you rotate it 45 degrees, right? You're gonna have, obviously the X and Y values are less than 1 because you can't, like, it's basically like going around a circle, right? So the farthest extents are only going to be the radius, right? So it makes sense that we have 707 here, and it's going to be negative in the X because if you're rotating around the origin point in a counterclockwise manner, right? You have you're turning around this way, so you're going to have a negative X. So this just makes, this is visually or geometrically, or if you just think about it, makes sense that these are the values here. My rotate point function's right up here, and all it is basically the 2D transformation matrix encoded in to produce a new point. From given degrees and a current point, it rotates around the origin, gives you the new point. So I just need to use that instead of doing the scale here, which is scale, right, is multiply whatever value of your point by your scale factor. Rotate's a little different. It's just assuming the point is translated correctly to consider its origin, right? Is any of this making sense? You just I have to do this a little bit differently because my rotate point function works on points, not on single x, single y values, right? So this is it's just incorrect. Okay, so let me consider how this has to happen. Okay, I'm going to do myself a favor here and comment out the closed path shape there. I want to leave it there because it's annoying to type it all out, and it'll work for testing rotations later. But right now I want to make svg/line, which takes 2 points like this. So what I want to do is create a line from 0, 0 to 100, 200. Let's see what that looks like. It should be drawn from here. Oh, right, it's in the translate already. Oh, it's maybe too long or too big, so let's do 20, 40. Yeah? Perfect. So that works as a good line element to test. So just so I have it marked out, I am going to have another circle. It's going to be 10, 20. And that should be the center point of that line. So what I'm going to need to do is this rotate element function, I want to have the line pivot around this bigger circle, not pivot around this circle, this one at its end point. So that's what I'll need to have working. So what I think I'm going to do is let me think about this just for a moment here. So center X, center Y. Oop. Let's zip that back. We'll do one of these bad boys. The reason I split the code block like that is just because it doesn't skip the screen up and down when I tab to indent things. It's something I've been meaning to fix but never got around to. That's the story of my life right now. Not thoroughly fixing these little problems, right? It's like for a long time you can tolerate little inconveniences, and you almost need like the 1,000th paper cut to actually, you know, really cause you harm before you feel compelled to make these changes. And that's, I don't know that that's the healthiest approach. One day I'm just gonna, maybe I'll make it a stream. It's Adam fixes his workflow stream or something like that. Forces me to pay attention to it, you know. But I digress. I have to think about what I want to do here. It shouldn't be that hard, really. I mean, so one thing I can do, this is the first thing that comes to mind, actually, is this. So I have this center position, right? And what I can do is create let's actually make what's a compact way to write this? Points A and B are these things here. Oh, that is not what I intended. I actually don't know what happened there. I mean, the font is nice and huge, but that's going to be a problem for me. I don't have that much screen real estate. Well, it looks really crisp, which I like. It's satisfying. It's sometimes weirdly really nice to have just this massive font. Makes things almost trivial to read, but I'm digressing again here. Let's see here. There's probably, oh, this here. I don't know what I did to turn that on, but that minor mode is off now. I guess it's like a plus minor mode or something like that. And then there's some shortcut that I accidentally hit that turned it on, and so it went to +2 or something. I don't know what I'm talking about. One day my workflow will be flawless, but it is not this day. And what have I done here? I've just absolutely goofed this up. Okay, so there we go. We've got. You know what? This is crazy unreadable. So I'm just going to define A to be this point set. Okay, so it's x1 props, y1 props, which makes a single point A. B is this here. Then CXCY, right, is just bounding box center of the list of points A, B. So that's more compact. Then all I have to do is translate translate do I want to actually use translate? Seems a little unnecessary. Let's see if I have a generic function here. Let's not worry about that. Let's let's just build it the way it's coming to my brain right now. Let's get rid of this because this is irrelevant anyway. Okay, so I've got right, so I basically want A and B. No, this is maybe silly. All this is going to be is map v minus point move, and it should be plus actually because right, that'll work, but is it really necessary? Right, so if I move point 1, 1, nope. If I move a point 2, 2, and the point is 4, 5, right? All that's going to do is it's going to return 6, 7, which is totally fine. And the reason I could do that is so then I make AB, if I make it the map move point A, move point AB, repeat CX, CY, which this destructuring, let me just get the function out the way I think it could work, and then I'll clean up the destructuring. Like, I don't know that I need to do this. I could just make it center instead, right? Does that even work? We'll just test that. Map move point 0, 0, 1, 1. Those are the points I want to map onto repeat, and the center of that's going to be 0.5, 0.5. There we go. Okay, so that does work, but technically I want the, oh, that was weird, map move point to be the, I want them to be negatives. Oh, that's not going to work. It has to be like this. Here we go. How's everybody doing today, by the way? Anyone watching now, feel free to join in on the chat if you want. You know, doesn't have, it doesn't have to be programming related if you want to just chat about whatever. I'm usually pretty cool with that, pretty chill with it. Just hope everyone's doing okay, you know? If you're watching this after, thanks so much. Hope you're doing well too. Hey, I may as well say it right now, just in case people end up watching this particular part and seeing it. I want to keep growing this and keep doing this. I love it already, even with a small audience. But I do need to grow attention on this a little bit. So if you're in any way inclined, feel free to share it around. Feel free to you know, get other people to come in, follow this, join the YouTube channel, subscribe there. Just participate, because I need it, and I want eyeballs and attention here, because I think we can build out some kind of fun balance of design, programming, engineering, and general chit chat that, I don't know, could be compelling. So if you want to be part of that, I do need help growing things. Basically at this point I just need a bit of a following, right? So, you know, go for it. Help out if you can. If you can't or don't want to, like, that's totally fine too. I do need help, but I don't want to pressure anyone into doing stuff they don't want to do, right? Like, that wouldn't be any good. So enough chit chat about that. Okay, so I have actually A and B. I could even do this. No, never mind. Now I want to do there's almost surely a cleaner way to write this all up, but we'll get there. Do it messy and then clean it up. That'll work too. Right, so so we've moved the points to be around their center points, which is totally perfect. which should make sense, right? Yeah, so that should, subtracting the center position from a list of points should, like that implies that the points are now shifted to the origin, right? So their new center points become 0, 0 by default, which is perfect, which perfectly lets me set up A, B. Let's call this original A, original B. CX, CY is the bounding box center of OA, OB, right? Now we've got local A, local B, okay, which is the move point of OA, OB from their center point. And now we have rotated A, rotated local A, rotated local B, which is just going to be map L points. I don't need to destructure it, so we map map over L points, rotate point, right? Should work. Over the list, local points, and we rotate it, of course. We need to make a partial here. Partial, rotate point, degree, L points. So if we map that, now we get a list of it'll just be 2 points, RLA, RLB, and then here we can do, we'll do x1, y1, x2, y2. All this is now map move point we also don't need to destructure this. We do R points, map move point, R points, repeat, CX, CY. So basically what I've done here seems maybe a little convoluted, but we'll go with it for the time being. And then props, all props needs, new props is just going to be props where you assoc into each key the new value, and that'll just be nice and simple. x1, x1, y1, y1. x2, y2. Okay, so what's happened here is maybe a little hard to follow, but let me verbalize it so that I even know that it makes a bit of sense here. Okay, so we've got OA, OB. You know what I actually could do is this. Do I want to do it this way? It's maybe a little messy, but let's try it for a minute, see how I feel about it. Right, so we've got points. Is this a list of 2 points? x1, y1, x2, y2 makes points A and points B. Here, the bounding box center is calculated by passing in the list of points. For a line, it's really simple, right? It's just going to be x2 x2 minus x1 divided by 2 plus x1, right? Gets you halfway to It's simple. But anyway, bounding box center nicely works on any number of points greater than 1 point. So we could just use that function. So that gives us a cx and cy value, which is center x, center y from points. Then localized points, all I'm doing here is doing the negative of the bounding box center. So if something's centered at 10, 10, and you move all of its points by -10, -10, that shifts the center point of that line to 0, 0. The shape of the line will remain exactly the same. Basically, all I'm doing here is translating by the negative of the bounding box center. That's all that's happening here. Then rotated points, we're still around the 0, 0. We're still around the origin. So mapping a rotate point by degrees here will work because the way my rotate point function works is it assumes things are already centered around 0, 0. Then all I have to do is get the things back, the values out from the rotated points, while also mapping move point, which is just this, just a translation, back to the positive values of the center point. So that basically what happens is this: you get a line, you move it to the origin, you rotate it, you move that rotated thing back to its original center point, and that's your new shape. And that's what's happening here. So then props assoc, I just build back the required shape of the data to make a line. So that should work, except for the fact that I messed up symbols a little bit here. This points. Okay, so let's save that, tangle it. And let's test it out in the REPL here, just for kicks. Rotate element by 45 degrees. And what I want to rotate is a line. What's a good test for this? Well, let's see that it spits out valid data first of all. So let's make a line from zero, 0, 10, 10. Okay. Does that make sense? I'm not sure that it does. So what I want to do is head over to this to visualize things a little bit. And what we're going to do is test svg/rotate element 45, and the element to rotate is going to be this line. So this line length should stay the same, but it should pivot around this bigger circle here. So I'm going to save this. It's going to give an error, or it's going to not work because I have to refresh the page here to incorporate the updated code from here. So there we go. Now it's working. So let's step through this here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay, things are looking pretty good. So a nice surefire way to check, to do some sanity checking here. Let's rotate by 0. Okay, so this 45 degree point here, the circle I manually placed there, so let me change that here to 2020. Okay, so this is a line at 45 degrees. So if I rotate it by 45, it should be horizontal now, or vertical, I guess, in this case, and it is exactly vertical. So it looks like things are working okay after all. I just didn't have the intuition for these points here. But while I have something working, I'm going to go to the washroom for a minute, and I shouldn't be long. There we go. All right, I'm back at it. Okay, so for right now, I'm going to assume that this line rotation thing is working. Although let me actually check that for a minute. Okay, so rotate 0, so nothing happens. Okay, so this line here is going to have a new center point, which is going to be what am I doing in my brain? 25, of course. Yeah, looks more or less correct. Let's rotate it. Yeah, okay, things are still good. Things are perfect. 350. Beautiful. Everything is awesome. Well, that's not true, but that's a bit of a hyperbole, but everything with this current implementation of rotation for this line is looking pretty good. So okay, so let's plug along then. We've got circle, ellipse, and line complete. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Yeah, circle, ellipse, line complete. The next one then is path. Yep. So let's see here. Let's copy this as a basis. Zip on down to rotate. Circle, ellipse, move point, rotate element, paste that bad boy, rotate element path, split it here. We have instead of SX, SY, we have a degree value here. We have paths, which we can assume this is still going to work because that's no different. Center is going to be the same thing here. New paths is going to be for path and paths. Closed path string. What does that do again? Right, this. Okay, I'm thinking ahead to what if I want paths with open strings and stuff like that, but I'll cross that bridge another time because that's kind of bleeding into me wanting to do higher level stuff, more advanced shape control and stuff like that, the idea of sketches. I'll get to that later. Okay. Closed path string takes a list of points, right? Yeah. Right, right, it just produces a single string. And then you combine all of those strings together by interpose new lines. Okay, perfect. So the only thing that needs focus here is this. map partial scale point from center. Instead, what I can actually do here is rotate point. Oh, that's not true yet. Actually, what I need right, so it's a little messy. So what I need to do actually is, okay, so we have a path. And for each point, I want to actually map something, right? I want to map up. Each point is going to have this thing happen to it. It's going to have a move point, which I'm not being very consistent here. This should be PT, just like everything else. Or everything else should be the full word written out, right? Right, so okay, as point, so we want to move point okay, we want to move point by negative center point. Then you want to actually rotate point by degree point. Then you want to, I could just do a thread last macro here. It should work just as well, I think. And then you want to move it back. Oh. And that should be the whole function. Is that going to work? One way to find out. Okay. Can't resolve symbol. That would be because I did this. Okay, rotate element path. Let's give it a shot. Can't resolve symbol that thing in this context, eh? Well, of course you can't, because I didn't use the proper syntax there. It should work now. Let's try that. Boom. Okay, we've got a function. Let's have a look here. Rotate element 45, and we'll give it a path element. Closed path. This first part of it. Hey, hey. Oh, yes. That's me being silly. Alright, so it's messy, right? Because we've got a bunch of floating point problems, or, well, not problems, we've got just long floating point strings and whatnot. But it looks like it does do calculations the way we expect. So the next thing to do here is to try it. So start with rotate 0, okay? We'll get rid of the line and we'll pop this back into existence. What have I messed up here? Did I miss a translate? I think that's wrong. I think something went wrong. Oh yes, of course. This has to be refreshed. Still broken. Fine, fine. Okay. Should work. Oh, maybe not. Well, okay. Well, rotate element won't work there either, so let's go like that. Let's get to something. Okay, we've got a visual on there. Let's try this. Broke it. Okay, something always going wrong, right? That's okay. Let's zip this back to, okay, so we've got a circle in the very center there. This circle we're gonna comment out for the time being. We're gonna delete this rotate and translate here so we have this closed path just directly applied, and then we're gonna correct this again manually just cause. Translate, close the group tag, close the SVG, that. Okay, so this should work. Perfect. Okay, so we have this closed path, and this circle here is going to be showing the rotation center, or what hopefully is the rotation center of this closed path. And now here is where we try the rotate element, which needs this here, and something breaks. Okay, that's fine, we can work with that. Well, let's go like this. Let's copy this into the REPL. Oops. Silly me. Copy that in here. Okay, unmatched delimiter. Oop. Don't need that. Wrong number of arguments passed to eval. Why is that? Where is that? What is that? Okay. Okay, let's test this out one by one here. Move point, map, minus onto, let's assume the center point is 10, 10, okay? And the point we're starting at is 0, 0. This should work, right? Yep, negative 10, negative 10. If we then rotate that point 45 degrees, it does do something. And then if we move that point again, oh, we have to move it 10, 10. Now we're at a, now we've rotated that point. Yeah, so that actually should work, I thought. Okay, well, let's right, let's take this closed path here, and we'll do it with just a single path instead. Nope, still doesn't work. This is a thread. Yeah, it's the same. It's the thread last macro. That should be fine. That should be okay. Where's stuff going wrong? See here. Right, so we want to return new paths to see if that will work. Okay, something's going wrong with new paths. Right? Like if I just get rid of that and I just do this, center, no? What have I, okay, something's, all right, I've done something here, something wrong here. Closed path, I am missing something. Okay. Closed path makes a path. Let's try this. Split lines D from, oh, actually let me make my life just a smidge easier here. Def A as this closed path. So A is that. So if we do s/split lines of D from A, okay, here we go. We've got an issue here. So what went wrong? Well that's my fault. So this is not that, it's actually D from second A. Oops. There we go. Okay, so we've got that split lines. If I do map path to points over this thing, right, we get that. And now here, this thing, this whole mess. Oh wait, first, if I do center, oh no, sorry, G/bounding box center of apply concat this nonsense. It does give me a center. Okay, perfect. So then for path and paths, right? There's something going wrong here. Something is afoot. And I'm missing it. It's probably not that complicated either. I just am a little bit blinded by the code right now. Let's try split out this thing into its own function, just to make life a little clearer. Right, so I want to thread last the point to move point map minus over center, right? So move point takes this argument, the move, and then the point ends up threaded right in this spot here. So that should be okay. Then we do rotate that point by degrees, and then the point value should be in there. Let's double check that. Let's see, maybe I'm forgetting that. Rotate point. Right, so it takes degrees, 45, and then it takes some point. Right, 0, 0, which should obviously be 0, 0, 10, 0, yes. So that should be fine, and then we take that value and we thread it again, move point, positive center, and that should be the whole thing. Right, so now let's see if that function works. Rotate point around center. 45 degrees. Let's make the center 1, 2, and the point 10, 10. Okay, it does calculate something. I'm not going to mentally verify that that number is correct. I'll visually do that in a minute. But the point is that function should work here. Oh, what have I done? Right, so I should be able to map rotate partial rotate point around center, and it'll take degrees, center, and then path will have the points in it. Okay, let's try that. All right. Something's still going wrong and I'm just failing to see what it is. That's kind of my issue. Here it is. I'm calling this completely with the wrong. I did a goof. This might even be better to have this function pulled out on its own like that. And in fact, what I can do is clean up the line a little bit here. I can do this. Right, if I do rotate point about center here, I can actually clean this stuff up a little bit here. So what I can do is make points, center, and then all I don't need these. Our points is just going to be map partial rotate point around center, which takes degree and center and just takes normal points. Yeah. Sure. And that should still work. Oh, actually, this, I can even do this because I'm still doing something wrong here. This is that. This gets deleted. There we go. Well, so now I have to check, unfortunately, rotate element 45, line 0, 0, 1, 0. Perfect. Okay. Looks like things work. I will have to double check it visually, but that's kind of a little bit cleaner, and I can, in theory, it should work just fine. Pardon me, on path and other things. Oh, excuse me, as well. Okay, let's go ahead and try and fix this thing up. Okay, there we go. We have things visually working. There we go. That's a big little win. Okay, so right here I'm just going to do svg / rotate element 0 svg / line 0, 0, 10, 10. Okay, so there's a line there. Let's make it a little more obvious. 40, 40, save that. And let's rotate it 45 to make sure it's still working. Okay, we're good. We are in the clear. Awesome. Sweet. Let's do good old-fashioned rotate 90. 180 should look the same in this case. 270 should look like 90. Yeah. Oop, that's a big number. There we go. Awesome. Oh, sweet. Beautiful. All right, I'm happy with that. Finally, things are a little clearer there. That took a little longer than I would have hoped, but we got it working, which is good. Okay, so we've got path. So let's just zip up here. Okay, so path, polygon, and polyline should be quite easy, actually. Path is typically the most complex one, just because it can have arbitrary numbers of lines of lists of points. So you have to kind of destructure things one more level, as it were. But it's not a big deal. Just a little more machinery to it. Okay, so here we go. Rotate element polygon. And actually, let me just delete this one for now, because polygon and polyline end up being literally basically identical. So that's perfect. I wonder if you could actually, let me, just out of curiosity here, I don't know how to search this in a clever way. I kind of want like this to be or path polyline, like that, right, where I don't have to copy paste stuff at all, and I don't know if that's possible. Let's see here. Multi-method with multiple dispatch values. Okay, let's see here. Right, so this person is asking the same kind of question. Oh, you can. Okay, so there's a way to do it. Okay, Right, okay. So this is a fair point here. The fact that you might even want to do this at all might indicate that you've got a problem with how you're modeling your data. Since I only have it as one case, polygon and polyline, I'm actually not too concerned about it. So I think I'm just going to be okay with the little copy paste in this one case here, and if things change in the future, so be it. But I'm pretty happy with that. I am pretty good. Keeps things relatively simple anyway. Like, it's easy to read it, right? It doesn't confuse you at all. So I'll just leave it be. But there's at least someone else asking the same kind of question, so I don't feel like I'm going crazy or anything. Oh, what have I done? There we go. That would have been very confusing. And yeah, never mind. That was just a mistake on my part there. Right, so we have points center. New points is just going to be this here. This exact line, pretty much. So let me okay. So we've got map partial, zip, rotate point around center by degrees and center. Get rid of this because it's from the scale thing, we don't need it. And that's points, and you take points to string there. New points, new props is associate into props, into the points spot, the new points. Said points a lot. I'm going crazy. Alright, that looks like it'll work. So let's go over here and take hide that, and we'll make svg/polygon. And polygon takes a list of points. So we'll actually, just for simplicity, copy this. So that's going to be this square here, basically. Wait a second. Let's close that off properly here. Polygon. There we go. Let's try that. So it should give a weird sort of error. That makes me unhappy. Wait, what? Why is that? Ugh, something's always goofing up here. That was my problem. Okay. Close the rotate, close the translate, G tag, SVG tag, root tag, function. There we go. Okay, this should be refreshed. Okay, we're good there. Now this, if we rotate it 45, we should see it pivot about this point, not about this point. Hopefully. Yes, okay. That is looking pretty good. Awesome. Okay, I like that. I'm happy with it. Then the only thing left to do with this, copy that, make polyline, and that's literally it, I think. Let's have a look. for kicks here, let's see what this looks like. Cool. I dig it. Right, so polygon is looking like that. Let's refresh this so we get the polyline definition in there, and that should mean this should work. Yes, it does. Perfect. All right, we're on the right track here. Okay, so we've got rotate element for path, polygon, polyline. We just have rectangle, text, and G left, and this can actually polyline, rectangle. Scale element rectangle. Let's have a look here. Zip that, copy that, scroll on down here, go to Pastorino. Good old Pastorino. All right. Okay, scale element turns into rotate element, degrees. For a rectangle, we're going to have very similar concept, but because a rectangle is saved, like the data structure for a rectangle is a bit different. It looks like this. We need to just. Do we have to? Well. Oh, okay. Actually, this is kind of a pain. Right. So we are gonna have to rotate a rectangle again by the logic of rotate element by transform, right? Because rectangle doesn't have arbitrary point positions. It just has a width, a height, and a center X and a center Y. So this is the only way that we can encode rotations for rectangle shapes. So that is kind of, I don't love it, but excuse me, a little chilled, but it does mean we can actually do this same thing we did for circles and ellipses for rectangles as well. We can actually make things quite a bit simpler on ourselves. And let's see that it works. Rotate element, rectangle 4x10, wrong number. Of course, I forget the rotation value. Yep, that looks like it works. And so we have to check that here quickly. Let's do 20x10 just for kicks. This should break. We should refresh this and it should work. No? Maybe I didn't save this. Tangled. Save, refresh. Of course, comment that out so we have a working instance of the app. Save it. Broken, refresh. There we go. Okay, we're kind of in the money here. We've got some issue going on here. We've got a big issue going on here. Why? Okay. So we have some work to do here. if I look at this rectangle, it's got some translates and stuff built into it, which is what I want. Right? If I rotate, let's rotate 1 degree, it's gonna spin way out there because it's rotating by this, like around this point here. So if I were to translate well, let me just completely do that. Right, so here, if I do SVG / rotate 0 of the SVG / rectangle by 40, 50, doesn't matter what, save that. This should draw, what have I done? There should be a rectangle right here. Okay, let's check. Oh. There it is. Right, so if I now switch this to 1 degree, see that? It's rotating nicely around this center point here. So, what I have to do is encode into the rotation transform, which will be okay. What I will need to do is have a look up here. Okay, I have this function. I'm zipping all over the place. Let's just go like this. Okay, so we've got rotate element. Okay, rotate element by transform, right? Creates with this here. With this string to transform map. That's what I was looking for. String to transform map. Rotate SVG rotate transform. Right, so this is degree, center X, center Y, I think, right? So if I do this, and then I do transform map to string of this same thing. Whoop. We nicely have the center about which to transform. So what I need is I need this to have multiple arities, actually. And I think I can get away with it because I don't have any variable arity here, so I should be able to do that, where this is degrees center. Yeah, let's try that. K props content. And what I can actually do is create, I can have this be the implementation, and then this just calls the same function where it calls with degrees, center is 0, 0, k, props, content. And you just pass everything into the same function, so then it runs this set of code, and we're good to go at that point. Oh, have to do this. Yep, that should work. And now the only thing I have to change is here. Let's do this. CX, CY. That should work. So let's find out. Rotate element by transform. Let's rotate with just degrees a rectangle of 4, 5. So that leaves us with this. That didn't work. I thought I... Okay, let's check this. We have to check this. Well, let's find out now what happens if I do this by 10, 10. Yeah, okay, so the function works, but something isn't working here. And that would be because, well, why would that be? Let's find out if it works like this. Shoot. This doesn't make any sense. Oh man, that's okay. So this is a little bit strange. We do have to rethink this for a minute, because actually what we do want is something like this, right, where we actually do a say it's 45 degrees like this, and we want to concatenate the center of points like this. Yes. Does that make sense? Let's try it. Let's try it out. Something went wrong. Yes, of course. All right, let's try that. Something, okay, so now we've got things going wrong, which is technically better because it means we can fix it. Okay, perfect. But before I go ahead and start working on that, I will be right back. All right, back in the saddle again. Oops. Oops. Okay. Right, so we have a little bit of weirdness going on here. Right, so new transform is the transform where you update right, so now we actually have well, f nil should now actually be like this. And you shouldn't. Okay, I have to think about this one for a moment. Okay, let's do, so this transform, right, means, oops, we will have, maybe I don't want to do it that way. What way do I want to do it? Okay, so we've got map plus onto degrees for, we don't want to do that. We don't want to map anything to anything here. What we actually want is okay. Oop. This function makes this. What we want to do is just, the only thing we want is to change the value of the first position here. So we don't need to map plus degrees onto this. We need to let's see here. Can we get a little weird with it? The key to update this is 0, and the function is to add degrees. So 5. Will this work? It does work. All right, so what I've done here, right? Update this collection, which is a vector, where the keys are the keys are sequential, like the indices into the vector. So the key 0 is the first position, and then the function you're going to update with is plus, which takes the argument 5 in this case. So you add 5 to the first, right? So that we could turn into update in rotate 0. Okay, well, so let's ignore the center thing for a moment. And let's just change the shape of this a little bit here, where we update in rotate with update in rotate 0 with plus degrees. Does this work? Let's see. Let's rotate 45 degrees and we'll create a rectangle 45 by 50. That doesn't work because update in isn't going to work yet. We need a, if it doesn't exist, I could do this here. If I do if I take transform from an empty thing that's nil, if I do f nil of this key, which is empty here, right? If I just give it rotate 0, 0, 0, that's not what I expected. Shoot. Now I've confused myself. Classic maneuver. Oh, I'm messing this up. I thought that yeah, whatever. Okay. That was a brief exploration into a dead end in my brain. That's fine. Is there get Map key not found. Oh, okay. This is what I actually am looking for. Okay, so right, if I do get from this map, from the key transform, right? Now I want the not found value to just be rotate 0, 0, 0. This should return yes, that's what I want. And then here, if I do the same thing, but I have transform in there and it's something, there we go. Okay, so this, pardon me, this can change to get from props transform, and if there's no transform value, you assume you need rotate 0, 0, 0 in this particular case. Then with that default, this update in will always work. So that's a starting point where the function should work. Okay, this should work now. Okay, it does. So we have now this rotate where by default it's about 0, 0, which is perfect for what I'm trying to do. Pardon me, I was a little tired there. So now the only other thing to do is now we can assoc in rotate 1 first center, assoc in rotate 2 second center. Okay, that should lead to, oh boy. That should lead to a totally working thing, I say with no confidence, where, okay, now if I do, let's make the rotation about 10, 10. Okay, it does work. Okay, so here, right, I called the rotate element by transform with just the degrees, and it rotated about 0, 0, which is should be fine because that's the implied default anyway. On the SVG side. But if I call the same function with the center values here, it does indeed put the center values in there. So that shouldn't break any of my existing calls into that function, I don't think. And it should allow me to rotate element rectangle by calling, if I do this, let, well, let's have a look at rectangle here. It has X and Y are actually the center points. Yeah. Wondering if there's a clever way to get wait, what? Oh, yeah, no, that's good. Width, height, X, Y. I wonder if there's a clever way to get values of just can I do get with multiple? Can you do get? You could do map get. You could do this map get from the map, the two keys you want, X and Y. Oh, that's just me forgetting to do this. Oh, no, this is silly. This is wrong. I actually want to map it's like this. It would actually be this. Map get from the map the list of keys, like this. There we go. Is there a function for that? Let's see. Clojure get values list of keys. Oh, it's select keys probably. Is that a thing? Select values. Oh, okay. Second rectangle 2, 4, 2, 5, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's the map, and the key sequence is going to be X, Y, and you want to run vals of that. Yeah. Okay, it's not actually any shorter really than the thing I came up with here, but it doesn't really matter all that much, because I'm just going to do this because it's even shorter. It's a shorter line physically. Okay, so that's the center. I'm going to call rotate element by transform with degree center and k and props, and close the let. Alright, it's a long-winded approach. Let's give it a shot. What we need to do is rotate element 45 degrees, but this element is going to be a translated rectangle where it's translated 100, 100. So its center point is going to be at 100, 100, right? And it's going to be a rectangle of size 50, 20. Again, it doesn't matter. We have created a slight problem because this is not actually the correct position to be rotating about. We need it to rotate about the center point of the rectangle, which is not actually XY. It will be XY plus half the width, half the height. So let me zip on up to scale rectangle, because there I've designed the bounding box thing for it as well. Sorry, getting emails. They're just surprising emails. Scale element rectangle. Here, this is actually what I need. CX, CY. Right, so lazy me is gonna just do the classic copy paste maneuver. And then this just becomes CX, CY. Let's give that a shot here, okay? So now we correctly have, since I know the translates to the center point there, we've got 100, 100. So that looks okay. Let's tangle this file. Let's go ahead over here and refresh this. Okay, this here is a test for this rectangle here. Let's make it bigger, just for kicks. Let's go 100 by 50. Zip. Okay, and 45 degrees. It should, I hope, rotate about its own center point. Ooh, swing and a miss. Now, why would that be? Maybe because I still have to refresh this. No, it's still not working. Huh, funny how that goes. I kind of thought it would work at this point. Interesting. Well, let's have a look. Let's rotate it 10 degrees. So we've got a little something to work with here. Oh, that's the wrong. Where am I looking here? Oh, this 10 degrees. Just to be triply safe here, let's, no changes need to be saved there. Refresh it one more time. Rotate only 1 degree. Okay, yeah, it's not working yet. Which is totally okay. It just means I have to use my brain box. Let's inspect this. Zoopity boop. All right, let's have a look at the rectangle here, right? So we have a rotate, but it is incorrectly. Oh. Wow, isn't that a surprise for me? It is indeed. Well, oh, I'm looking at the wrong rectangle. But even so, this, right, so if I were to manually type in, should be 200, 200, see, that is what I need to happen. Could it be yeah, okay, so this is gonna be a harder thing to solve actually, right? If I do translate here internally, okay, now we can't see that, but ignore that for a moment. This rectangle here does now correctly have these rotate value. Shoot. Okay, this is going to be hard. I actually don't know if I can make this work really easily. Right, so what's happening here is the order matters. So I'm applying this rotate. Let me get rid of this. Right, so this rectangle here is first being rotated 10 degrees. At the time of rotation, the rectangle is located at 0, 0, right? Then, in sequence, right? So it's rotated, then it's translated. But because the translation is applied not as a transform to like in the like the map of the transform, but directly to the position of the rectangle, the rotation is assumed to be about 0, 0, which has already happened, it's done, and it has no knowledge of the translation that will occur after the fact at 200, 200. But because the translation gets encoded directly into the XY position of the rectangle, now the end result is an SVG element that has the correct XY position for the translate, but has the rotation at 0, 0 where the rotate was originally applied. So everything was working the way I wanted up until this point, and now I don't know what to do. Because what I can do, and this is, I don't know that this is the right thing to do, I can make the translate functions always also change the center point of any rotation transform, even if a transform doesn't exist. Now I don't like that, right? Because, well, it just that doesn't, it's not good for what I want to do. Well, let me try something here for a second. Okay, so we've got rotate element rectangle must have the degrees and the hard-coded center like this. Let's make sure I'm changing the right things. Let's ignore that one for now. Oh, that's fine. This is the one here where I want 200, 200. Save this, it'll break the web page, but I can refresh the page and it should fix it at some point. Okay, we're on to something. Ooh. Hey, Makura-san. Sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. Apologies. You're new to streaming and Clojure, still learning the syntax and reading up on microservices using Clojure, but you're excited to see some practical work being done to learn from. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're learning something here. Hopefully my occasional fumbling around is is not overly distracting for you. Nobody ever gets it right. You can call me Mike if that's easier. Yeah, so that'll be easier for me to remember. Mike, that's probably easiest for me. But sorry if sorry that I got it wrong. I do my best, but I'm not that perfect, so. But hey, I'm glad I can be part of your learning process. I want to caveat things here, put a little asterisk up front saying, I hope you understand that I am self-taught as a programmer in general, and my Clojure knowledge is evolving, right? So in a lot of ways, I'm learning in the open. So, don't necessarily take the things I do as quote unquote best practices. Nevertheless, I do try to be practical and try to use the language to do nice, useful things. So yeah, I'm glad you're tuned in. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate that. Do you have any cool projects in mind for Clojure that you want to do? I mean, you mentioned for microservices, but did you have any specific plans, or are you just kind of exploring the language in general? I also saw that you followed me pretty recently, so thanks for that. Again, I appreciate it. Okay, so where was I? I've got a blank screen that's not working. All right, let's pop this in the REPL and see what I've goofed up. Rotate element 45 degrees around the center point 1010, and we'll rotate a rectangle. Okay, wrong number of arguments. Okay, so that's not really a solution, maybe. Is this gonna work normally here? Yeah, okay, that works. I don't have a project yet, just because you don't understand it well enough to design a project, but you're thinking about small APIs for handling an online recipe notebook of sorts. Oh, nice. That sounds pretty cool. I'm trying to think if there's something useful I can point you towards for that sort of thing. For what it's worth, I'm not sure how much of my streams you've seen, or I guess you're new to the stream in general. I am kind of doing this sort of weird back-end thing more so than front-end stuff, but I've made little, if you permit me to show this off for a second. Let's see here, what's a good example? I've made a tiny little tech demo thing here that, so it's, you could call it an app, and it's got a little bit of interface, that sort of thing. It, like I said, extremely just a tech demo, nothing crazy, right? Doesn't work perfectly, but the point is, I made this using a little library reagent, and not sure if you're into it, but it's basically it's a wrapper language around React, and you can use it to make apps and stuff like that. But if you're thinking more specifically about API stuff, I have nothing specific to say other than I'm pretty sure you're in the right category of language to handle it nicely. But so if you're in need of front-end related stuff, Reagent is probably something you'll run into. I'm realizing that's not so helpful for making a small API, so my bad on that one. Forget that noise then. Yeah, I can't think of anywhere to point you to directly at the moment. Sorry about that. But recipe stuff, small little APIs like that, that's fun stuff. I hope it goes well for you. Can I get this working again? That is the question. The answer is yes. I just have to fix up this stuff. Okay, there we are. So What happened to the rectangle? There it is. Okay. This is a pain. Right, so let's blast this away, and we'll make a little case here. Root, there we go. Want to link GitHub in chat, you can check it out. You have a basic Node.js Express app for this project. It would be cool to explore how you could use Clojure instead. Sure. I'm realizing, and this is actually a mistake on my part, I actually have this front end and this back end loosely called in different repos. I can link you to the back end, and I can also link you to the source code for wait, no, I can't. Anyway, I'll give you my general GitHub, and you can poke around the repos that are up there. Apologies, they're not the cleanest. I'm heavily in the prototyping phase. That's not much of an excuse, but that's the reality I'm faced with. What is my GitHub? Wait, is this cool to share? I don't remember. How do GitHub links work just to different users? Is it... I should know this. There we go. That's what it is. I think that should work. Anyway, so the repo that the quote-unquote backend thing here is this one. It's pinned. But I've not put this up yet, the front end sort of thing, because it's just a total complete mess, to be completely honest. Like, look, the name is ASDF app. Like, I didn't even give it a real name. Because I was just using it to throw some experiments together. And I'm currently just using it to help visualize some of the transformation stuff over SVG. So, yeah, feel free to look around. Honestly, feel free even to do pull requests if you notice anything blindingly and obviously incorrect. You know, anything like that, you go right ahead. One of the reasons I like streaming like this is since I'm not like I'm self-taught in terms of programming and everything related to this, there's definitely tons of stuff I don't know. And so getting a bit of critique, a bit of pointers from anyone is almost certainly valuable. So I'm not about being the best, because I'm not the best, but I am really open to trying to understand and learn some stuff. So if you're poking around and you see anything, feel free. No pressure, of course. You do you. But maybe some of my stuff can be helpful to you. But the big asterisk, of course, is remember I'm not like the most professional Clojure developer, right? Like, you'll almost certainly want to keep poking around other sources as well. I don't want to lead anyone astray, is basically my concern. Right. So my issue. How do I, my issue, this is big. This has become a bigger problem than I realized it would be. Well, and problem's maybe the wrong word. It's a challenge, though. So what I have here, right, is if I do svg slash translate, I can translate, let's translate into the center a we're going to translate a rectangle that is 100 by 50. 50, please. My own fingers aren't typing very well right now, but that's the way it goes, huh? All right, this is not helpful. Let me go ahead and ban this. How do I do that? Nope, that's the wrong thing. There we go. Huh. I wonder if it's like weirdly a good sign that you get spam in chat. That's the first time I've had to do that. It's weird. Actually, that's not true. It's the second time. I don't like that that happens though. Okay, back to this. Right, so translate works with this rectangle, no problem, right? But the issue I have is here. If I apply a rotate element, and I want to rotate it 45 degrees, this onto this rectangle here, it'll rotate it assuming it's at the 0, 0 position, and then it'll translate. But the way I'm implementing those things, I want to reduce the total number of nodes that are put into the SVG, like into the SVG output. So instead of wrapping and putting tons of translates into the transform string, my idea was to calculate the new position data of every object. So translating a rectangle creates a new x and y value that get put right into that node. And that works, except that when if I apply a rotate before a translate, the rotate happens around 0, 0, which is not, that's not what I want. I want this to happen. This should work, I think. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that is the behavior I want. But the issue here is I want the order of those to not matter, because the order doesn't matter for something like if I do let's see, a polygon. Actually, I have to check my assumption there. Let's make a circle first of all. Let's do a circle size 50. If I save this, okay, so I'm actually incorrect. I've got issues abound when it comes to my rotate implementation. So this actually is revealing a bigger problem than I even, I was just going ahead thinking things were all peachy, and they're not quite, which is okay, but it presents some challenges, right? So here, right, I've got, so what I want is the rotate transform to always apply to the around the center of the thing itself. So that I think that does work with, let's do What's a good, let's do polygon. We'll make a polygon for a moment. Right, and we'll make it 0, 0, 40, 0, 40, 40, 0, 40. Okay, so this polygon, this is the kind of rotate behavior that I want for everything. It's kind of an arbitrary choice, but it is kind of how I wanted it to be anyway. So let's mark the center of this canvas for a minute with a circle of size 1 there. Right, so the center of the canvas is here, but the center of this polygon is let's move that as well. This will be 2020, right? Oop. Well, that's my bad. Why did that fail? This should work just fine. Oh, no, it won't, because this rotate element doesn't yet work on lists. It only works on single instances. So that has to go away. I'm really just kind of thinking out loud at this point, which is fine, I think. Did I goof? Okay, here we are. So this corner here is at the center of this canvas. This circle here is the center of this polygon element. If I were to add here on the right here, if I were to add a point at 50, 20, that's a point further out. The center about which this will rotate is actually going to be defined by the bounding box center of it, which is somewhere else now. It's actually going to be at 25, 20, which is like that's no problem. In my view, that makes some intuitive sense. Maybe there's approaches that are better, but I can wrap things in higher, like different kind of APIs for different things, right? Like if you want to sketch advanced features and stuff like that, maybe I could build a different approach. Anyway, tangential. If I put a rotate around this, svg/rotate element of this polygon, 45, doesn't matter. Let's close that rotate there. It rotates the way I want it around this center point here. And that works because if we look at that path element or the polygon here, it has no translate, or it has no transform property applied to the node at all. All of that stuff, the rotate and this translate here, this 200 translate, they've all been applied directly to the points. But I can't do that with a rectangle element, because that's not like that's not how rectangle elements data is set up. It has a width, a height, and a x and y, which is the bottom corner of it. So the only way that I can apply a rotation to an SVG rectangle element is by using the transform. And then I run into application order problems. So that's the description of the problem I'm facing, and I have no good solution that comes to mind anyway. There might be a good one. The first thought I have is it's actually a mistake that I calculated the transforms and applied them directly to the points here. Because if I think about it, I originally did intend for this namespace, this SVG namespace, to be just a wrapper over existing SVG functionality, but I'm technically changing the functionality. So perhaps my design choice was wrong. Perhaps the approach where I calculate and apply things directly to points, perhaps that's actually at one level higher than what it should have been. I've weaved a tangled web a little bit. Well, let's see. So I have this idea where if I do, so if I do translate 1020 of a rectangle, what it does is adjust the X and Y position. The width and height stay the same. And the reason this is easier to see maybe with 1020. So the width, rectangle 1020 produces a width and a height 1020 as you would expect. The X position and the Y position are calculated by the half of the rectangle width plus the translate, okay, the default X and Y position of a rectangle are negative half for the width and the height. There we go. So that means when I draw a rectangle, it draws the width and height and then shifts it back so that it's centered. So that 0, 0 is at the center of the box. Then translate, that function will add the X value and the Y value to X and Y of the rectangle. It's pretty simple. What I'm thinking maybe is that I could have some function that does that tracks or always produces, if I do transform map to string, and every object has a transform map built in where it has rotate and its default values are 0, center X, center Y, where center X and center Y are always updated with translate and scale functions. I can do that, but is that the right thing to do? So in the case of this rectangle, its center position is actually going to be 1020, like that. right? And then, so the only thing I would really, so if that rotate 0, 10, 20 just exists as part of the rectangle's data, then what I can do is make the function update in, let's make up a map here, right? Rotate just like this, 0, 10, 20. Oh, that's the map. The keys are rotate 0, where 0 is the index into this list, into this vector, I should say. So the 0th position is the first element in there. And then you update it with the function. In the case of a rotation, right, it's just adding to the existing rotation the number of degrees that you want to rotate. So 45, for example. That spits out this updated map, and then you just do xf map to string of rotate of this updated thing here. So not sure if any of this makes sense on the stream here, but this is me just verbalizing my thought process at the moment. Do I like it? Not particularly. But okay, so I can actually test out a little bit. If I just use the rectangle as the example to start with, if I go to the transforms, translate, and I update the translate element function for rectangles here, new props can be, you update x and update y appropriately, right? That's the translate. Oh, even before then, actually, what I can do is go over to shapes here. I can pop over to, oh no, I don't, never mind. I don't want default, I don't want a map to exist unless I need it to. But as soon as you translate an element, you do need to update its center point. So what I can do there is create so new props. Well, let's start with, yeah, let's explore this idea I've got going in my mind for a little bit here. We can always undo things. No harm done. Actually, just for kicks here, what's the new, can I make a new terminal window? Oh, kinda. Let's see here. No, please work. I don't know why that's doing that. Well, okay. So I have this tiling window manager. There are some instances where it doesn't work the way I would expect, as you might be witness to at the moment. I'm going to be okay with it for the time being. Alright, we'll call this good enough. What was I doing that for, though? Oh yeah. Let me git add all that stuff, git commit Okay, so there we go. We've got a sort of checkpoint that we can pull things back to if we need to. Oh, that doesn't close. There we go. Okay. Right, so let me be right back. Got to stretch out for a minute. It won't be long, and then I just want to explore for another 10-15 minutes, and then I do probably have to get going. But I'll be back in just a minute. Right. I am in the middle of thinking about rectangles. We are going to take, we're going to let transform be get from props the transform key, and if there's no, if it doesn't exist, let's make sure that I'm thinking about this right. Get from some map the key transform. It's going to be something if it doesn't exist. There we go. Yes. Right, so if it doesn't exist, we're actually going to add rotate in there, and it's going to be 0, 0, 0 is the default. Is this the smart place to put that? Perhaps it's not. Maybe risky. But we'll start there. And we do transform. What's the function? Transform string to transform map. Yeah. String to transform map. Okay. So that is the transform map. What I need to do here is produce new transform. Oops. Hey, this is, there we go. Okay. Right, so the new transform is actually just going to be right, so the new transform is actually going to be we can convert new transform, we can associate into the map transform into the key rotate. How do we want to do this? Well, okay, before I worry about that, we need, before we do new transform, we actually do need to calculate the center of the rectangle, which are these 2 points. So we'll bring that up here. Center X and center Y. Those will be the values that we pop into this part of the rotate. The reason we can't just make that the default there is this is not, this is actually way harder than I anticipated, because this will break. Will it break multiple, like if you rotate? No, it should be fine, maybe. I'm gonna assume for now it can be fine. Let me just try finish this idea up, and then I'm gonna have to call it for the day. Let's go. Right, so new transform is just going to be assoc into transform rotate key, the concatenation of wait. Concat or conj. I always mess this up. If I conj, let's say a list with 1, 2, and then a value 4. 1, 2, 4 is on the end. If I cons that, can't do it. Right, it has to be a list. But if I concatenate, it's the same thing. That doesn't matter. Probably memorize those different things. That's a problem for another day. I'll just do concat first from actually, we'll do it kind of this weird way because it's kind of fun. We'll do we'll thread first the transform, and we'll assoc in rotate 1. We assoc in CX, and then we assoc in rotate 2 CY. Okay, so that's the new transform. Then new props is actually just going to be assoc into transform, right? The what's that function? Transform map into string. New XF. Okay, so let's see if that will work. Right, so we have now, we can do translate rectangle. Oh, let's translate it 10, 10, a rectangle 40, 50. Right, so we have incorrect. Oh, it has to, no. It has to be this. The center x, y plus x, center x, plus y, center y. Yeah. Try that out. Okay, there we go. This translate here has now resulted in this rotate having that applied there. So if I do a nested translate situation here, 2020, and then this, I should expect to see rotate 0, 30, 30. If, yes, okay, that's working. So now my rotate function for rectangles can be simplified again in theory. Where I have a rotate element by transform here that once again just takes degrees. Let's get rid of this scenario. And all I do is this. Update in there. Is that gonna work? Right? Let's find out. Rotate element by transform, and we take degrees 45, and then the element that I'm gonna test that on is this translated rectangle. Okay, we nicely have the translation encoded in the rotate here, and the rotate value 45 is now placed inside there. So using those changes, let's quickly test that out here. Let's have a look. Let's zip on over here, refresh this so that it loads in the new code. Hopefully that works. Sometimes it doesn't, and then I am fumbling. But what we want to do is create a 100 by 50 rectangle here. Save this and see what happens. Compile warnings. I love it. And that is because when I do rotate element rectangle here, I'm attempting to call it with that, but I actually don't need to call it with anything. I can just do this, save that. Let's go ahead, refresh this. It's broken. Broken's good. Well, kinda. I mean, it's not good, but it means that things are changing, which is kinda nice. Okay. It doesn't. There we go. We've got something. So that's what I mean. Sometimes things just don't properly like refresh or whatever. All right, we've got what looks to be a working rectangle scenario, which is the perfect situation for me to vamoose and get going, because that is a success that I'm really happy with. But I've been working on this for a little over 3 hours, and I do have things to do, so I shall be on my way. Before I go, anyone who's tuned in now, thanks so much. Anyone who has chatted and all that, I really appreciate the interaction. Even if it's just a little bit, it's quite nice. Anyone watching this at other times, please feel free to engage in any number of ways. You can, on the YouTube channel, you can like it, comment, subscribe. You can check out my GitHub, which is github.com/AdamJamesV. I've got that, on my Twitch channel page, or whatever it's called. I've got a few links there. I have a website with some work in progress blog stuff that I update from time to time, related to CAD work and design ideas and all that stuff. You can tune in there, and just spread the word if you can. I need to, I don't need to, I want to build this up into a small community, if you will, that can join in and chat, can work on cool projects with Clojure or other programs. It doesn't really, or other languages I should say, it doesn't matter all that much, but people who like design, people who like programming, people who can be encouraging with one another to try things out, that kind of stuff. So spread the word if you're interested. If you just want to observe silently, that's totally cool too. I appreciate that. Even that is nice to see. So thanks for tuning in. I shall be back again tomorrow with more programming. My design library. I think I'll actually get back into designing a bit of I have a desk idea and or some gym equipment that I need to design soon anyway. So maybe I'll do some of that on stream. I'll have to see how I feel. But once again, I find myself rambling at the end of this all. So I'm going to get going. Thanks so much. I'll be back tomorrow. I hope everyone has a good one. Take care of yourselves. I'm going to head out. Goodbye.